I've got nothing against Harmony Day. If you're not Australian, Harmony Day is celebrated annually on the 21st of March and is a government-declared observance day that began in 1999, coinciding with the United Nations International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. According to the official website, it's most recently become Harmony Week. Why have a single day when you can have an entire week? This year, my children's school are going full steam ahead with Harmony Day, week, whatever. A couple of weeks ago, both my children were sent home a note from their teacher inviting parents of culturally or linguistically diverse children to come in and contribute something towards Harmony Day. Things like cultural dress, traditions, foods, celebrations, sports, or anything else that will help develop our cultural understanding. As I have a multicultural family, my wife is Chinese, I asked my children what they thought of this. Their response was swift. Nah, we don't want to do that. I asked why, and they just said it sounds boring. Pressing my son a bit further, he just said that he doesn't like being forced to do things he doesn't want to do. Fair enough, me too. I get it. For them, dressing up in different clothes or singing a Chinese song just seems pointless and potentially embarrassing. Don't get me wrong, my children completely embrace their Chinese heritage. They have Chinese friends and go to Chinese school on the weekends and really enjoy that side of their lives. But on the other hand, they also embrace their Aussie-ness. They watch Bluey and like mucking around like typical Aussie kids. They also just don't have an interest in all this diversity ideology that the school keeps trying to push. I know my kids, and they treat everybody fairly. They certainly don't treat people differently because of their cultural background or ethnicity or anything like that. All they care about is having fun with their friends, and that's pretty much how their friends act as well. There's certainly no racism that I'm aware of. The only mention of racism is from the teaching staff. They seem to want to preach about racism that doesn't actually exist in the school. A week later, the teacher sent out another letter reminding us that they're looking for some culturally diverse volunteers to come into the classroom. I asked my children again, but they just weren't interested in celebrating Harmony Day at school, so I asked my wife if she was willing to do something. Her response was equally swift. No, I don't want to do it. You see, my wife has been living in Australia close on 15 years. At first, she found all these little multicultural events interesting, but now she's a bit sick of it all. She feels like the only reason she's ever asked to do any of it is because she's Chinese. And she's right. Of course she's right. Despite the school's best intentions, they're inadvertently making my wife feel like she's being treated differently because of her ethnicity. It's kind of opposite to what the school were trying to achieve. I get it. When I lived in Japan, the first year was full of me being treated like the token foreigner. Tell us about your country. Can you speak Japanese? Wow, you can use chopsticks. In the first year, that was fine, but after living there for a few years and people are still congratulating you on your chopstick usage, it starts to wear a bit thin. I know they were coming from a good place, they weren't trying to make me feel bad, but by commenting on how well I can use chopsticks after living in Japan for like half a decade, they inadvertently made me feel bad. And that's pretty much the same with my wife and children regarding Harmony Day. They just want to be treated like everybody else and not like some sort of token foreigner to parade around during the school Harmony Day festivities to make the school feel good about itself. But it's not just my family and I who seem to be a bit hesitant about all this. A couple of days ago, we got another letter from the teacher, this time a bit more brusque. Dear parents, as of today, I have not heard from anyone who is willing to share a traditional dress, provide food, or any information for our class for next Tuesday's Harmony Day. I think it's important to provide our students with time to share and celebrate their culture. I need to know if you or your child will be contributing, as if there is no interest, I will need to organise other lessons for the day. Regards, Mrs. Chambers. Clearly, none of the other families are willing to contribute their time either. I'm not sure why, but I think lots of people are over this. Our kids from all these different cultures get along fine. The school seems to think that they have to keep pointing out everyone's differences all the time, even though the kids just don't seem to care. And now it's bordering on annoying. Look, I'm all for people volunteering their time. If the local Chinese community want to perform a traditional lion dance, great. If the Japanese community want to show off their Aikido skills, more power to them. The only issue that I have with all this is that the school/society are trying to push it on everybody. Diversity doesn't need to be taught. Children are experiencing it every day here in Australia. It comes second nature to them. The school's Harmony Day celebrations, as with many things they seem to do of late, is largely symbolic. It's tokenistic. Even the ABC seem to be against Harmony Day, albeit for different reasons. calls to ditch Harmony Day amid accusations it whitewashes historic and ongoing racism in Australia. The 21st of March is not celebrated as Harmony Day anywhere except in Australia, Greens Senator Maureen Ferrucci said in a letter. It represents a superficial, self-congratulatory celebration of diversity, which completely ignores the entire point of the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. The urgent, pressing need to recognise racism and eliminate it in all its forms. Yeah, there's racism, but it's certainly not coming from the children. For example, my son's teacher made a comment in class at the start of the year. There's two really beautiful people in this class today. The children asked who? Jacinta and William. It turns out that Jacinta and William are the only children of African descent in the class, although the teacher never explicitly mentioned that, but the kids aren't stupid and connected the dots. My son asked the teacher, "What about the rest of us?" The teacher just replied, "Look, I'm just trying to be nice." From what I understand, the comment from the teacher just made Jacinta and William feel embarrassed. The rest of the class felt like they weren't considered beautiful. One must ask, what was the point of the comment? At the time, I didn't honestly know what the teacher was trying to achieve. But now that it's a couple of months into the school term, it's not so surprising. At the entrance of the classroom, she has "Welcome to Country" with an Aboriginal flag pinned to the front door. Wouldn't it be more inclusive and make more sense if she had "Welcome to Classroom"? It doesn't make any sense welcoming the students to country every time they enter the classroom, does it? She also has posters up on the wall about all the great achievements of women throughout history. I agree, women have achieved a lot, but so too have men. But there's not one poster of a man on the wall. To be fair, it was International Women's Day recently, so that might explain it. However, my son is constantly complaining that she treats the girls way better than the boys. If one boy talks in class, she punishes all the boys. That's completely stupid in my opinion. Why not punish all blonde-haired students or all children with brown eyes? It'd make about as much sense. Actually, even though the teacher clearly dislikes men and treats the girls better than the boys, the girls aren't even falling for it. My son has a number of female friends in his class, and they don't like her either. Her name is Mrs. Chambers, but the girls call her Mrs. Chamberpot behind her back. Obviously, that's not her real name, but the joke is essentially the same. The other day, I arrived early to pick up my son, and I peered into his classroom, and they were all watching a video about pride. No, not that pride. This pride. They're 10 and 11-year-old kids. I asked my son after class what he thought about it, and he just said it was pretty boring. He'd prefer to be doing maths. Actually, he makes a good point. What happened to just teaching reading, writing and maths at school? Anyway, I hope you get my point. They waffle on about inclusion and racism and sexism, but the only racism or sexism I've witnessed at school is the drivel coming out of the teachers' mouths.